So, we are living in many spaces and many messages and many times. We are in the midst of Pesach. We are thinking about what it meant to leave Egypt and to deliver a message for us. I'd like to invite Gabby Helf, who is our event and engagement coordinator here at Mount Zion. Gabby graduated Macalester College, hard to believe, just last year. And we were fortunate enough that she wanted to stay in Minnesota, as all people do. And Macalester has been a great joy to Mount Zion for so many people coming back and wanting to stay here. And as I said, Gabby was able to stay here and bring her skills, learn from college, to us at a time we so needed them, because not only did she fill a spot that was so needed for us at Mount Zion, but when Shai announced that he was leaving and taking in another position, Gabby had to take on, in her first position, an untenable kind of situation of filling in everything we needed her to fill in, and she did. And we are so grateful. I will say other times about that, but I just want to tell you publicly how grateful we are, Gabby, to you for doing things that are very challenging in a situation that is not charted well, and you've found your way and brought us much joy and direction. And now we invite you to bring words of Torah. And as you're coming up, I will share, too, that all year, Gabby has been participating as a Jewish Ideas Fellow at Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion. I nominated her, and she was offered this fellowship, and she accepted it, and has been studying all year with people, and will be finishing in a couple months. And this is one of the culminating ideas to bring her thoughts to us this morning.
Thank you, Rabbi Spoker. That was a really incredible introduction. It's hard to follow the Haftorah, but I'll try. I didn't know we were going to read it in English. So I'm really excited to present this final project to you, and I appreciate you listening. So, Chag Sameach. We find ourselves in the midst of Passover. I hope all of your holidays have been meaningful, whether you attended a Seder with friends or family members, or like me, just continue to suffer through the gastrointestinal nightmare that is matzah. It's kind of where we're at. Okay, of course, we all know the Passover story, the Exodus. However, at our Seder, the Exodus described, it's really kind of more the build-up to the Exodus. Once Pharaoh, let our people go, it all went in a haste, which we obviously know because of the matzah. The Exodus was so quick that, unbeknownst to me until my adult life, it wasn't just the Israelites who left Egypt quickly. No, Parshat Bo, which we read way back in February, states that an erev Rav, a mixed multitude, left Egypt. Has anyone ever heard of the erev Rav before? Yes. Great. Well, if you do know, then you can tune me out. But if you don't, I hope that this brief summary and analysis is interesting to you. So Exodus 12:38 reads, "Vegam erev Rav ala itam," translated to, "Moreover, a mixed multitude went up with them." Vegam, which means, translated as moreover, I kind of read as and also, sort of like let's not forget Vegam. And what are we not forgetting? This mixed multitude, this hodgepodge of freed slaves and Egyptians alike. This is Dvar Torah, so I went searching through the rabbinic catalog to learn more. Other definitions of this term that I found include 1. Egyptians who intermingled with them, sourced from medieval commentator Ibn Ezra. 2. Folks who left Egypt with the Israelites to take up residence among them together with all their belongings, from Sforno, another medieval commentator. And 3, a mingling of various nations who had become proselytes. This is from our friend Rashi. I'll admit, I had to look up what a proselyte was, but when I did, I found that proselytes are people who have converted from one religion or ideology to another. So now we kind of know who this crew is. In digging into more varied interpretations of this idea, I learned that the Zohar, Judaism's mystical text, takes this idea of the erev Rav and splits it into 5 different subcategories of dishonorable sorts of people. In an interesting drash on Parshat Bo, this Canadian rabbi named Pinchas Winston, which I found online, extrapolates from this argument that the erev rav very well could have been those who, what he says, quote, changed the face of redemption in all of Jewish history for that matter. The folks who will, quote, later build the golden calf at Mount Sinai in Moshe's absence and become the cause of his dying in the desert. It's kind of harsh. From Rabbi Winston's point of view, it's easy to blame the other, those dishonorable extra folks who went with. Now, if we treat the erev rav as an other, be it rogue Egyptians, proselytes, or other non-Israelites along for the ride, one could argue that their addition to the Exodus might have also had some benefits. An adapted midrash states that Moses advocated for the mixed multitude's inclusion, stating, well, these people have witnessed your, God's, great strength in Egypt. If they accompany us, they will experience additional miracles and then fully comprehend that there is no power besides you. Kind of like extra publicity for their cause. Advocates of this assimilation, contrary to Rabbi Winston's point of view, might ask, why shouldn't we have the Egyptians experience the beauty of our God? So in exploring these kind of stated potential varied responses to this idea, I began to see differences in where we, as readers of this text, place responsibility and how we view the Israelites and our own relationships with God, and who is even entitled to have a relationship with God. If we stood at Sinai alongside this mixed multitude, how would we define ourselves within this group? So I kind of think that we, in this group, it's us, as in it's all of us. It's not the other who built the golden calf or defied Moses or caused disruption in the desert. After all, it was a mixed multitude who left Egypt and a mixed group who followed Moses through the desert. How can you tell who were the dissenters or who molded the first gold brick and who raised the first question? From the commentators' writings, it's clear that these extras stood at Sinai too. So can we even make us versus them claims? If we choose to map ourselves onto this story, as we do in Passover, I believe that the issue is really kind of us versus us. Now, this us versus us idea, while not new, has come to the fold recently, especially given the wide range of verbal, emotional, and political responses to the turmoil in Israel and Gaza. Ever looming is our continued threat of annihilation, of external anti-Semitism, and the effects of that play out differently for Jews across the map. We are not all the same. We are a mixed multitude. We feel othered, and we in turn other. I've often consulted one teaching tool, which is called A Map of Internalized Anti-Semitism for White Ashkenazi Jews in the United States, just a handful. But I found it really interesting. So in it, Joe Kent Katz, the scholar who wrote it, places sense of otherness as the molten hot core of all Jewish behavior in this map. Her definition reads, not belonging, not being inherently desired or connected, no right to exist. Derived from repeated attempts at extermination, which led Jews in many countries over generations to internalize the message that Jews are the problem, that something about us is wrong or bad. End quote. That's very heavy. I acknowledge that I've jumped thousands of years ahead of the Exodus in bringing in this definition, but I chose to include it because it gets at the mixed nature of what it means to be Jewish nowadays. Philanderings such as the golden calf attempt rose out of a desperate plea to exist, a cry for attention, an expression of fear and hurt. The mixed Israelites acted on these impulses to create something that divided them from their leader, divided them from each other. And what's more important is that we have no way of knowing if it was the Israelites or the mixed Egyptians or the proselytes. All we really know is that it was everyone, all of them and all of us. At this moment, I found myself leaning towards building my own version of a golden calf, a set of statements, feelings, reactions to worship as my truth. It's easier than confronting nuance or holding multiple viewpoints or listening to those whose viewpoints differ from mine. Just as Moses smashed the tablets when he saw his people bow to an idol, I have blocked those who bow elsewhere. But maybe that's enough of the Sinai metaphors. But seriously, how cool is it that we have a precedent for diversity in opinion, based in fear and uncertainty that arises out of an inherently varied group of people, all struggling with the idea of their own identity and future. In their exodus from what they knew, they were forced to live in their mixedness until they reached a way to coexist as the erev rav. As I wrap up here, I want to share something else interesting that I've learned about the phrase erev rav. Another translation of the word erev is woof, as in weft, as in warp and weft, common weaving terminology. The erev rav is, by definition, an entity woven together. So I've been extremely fortunate to work at Mount Zion for these last 9 months, getting to witness firsthand the amazing warps and wefts of the community, chatting with prospective members, coordinating logistics with incredible lay volunteers, and collaborating with the leadership and staff to make Mount Zion run is the best education one could hope for in learning how to be in a mixed multitude. My position allows me to see Mount Zion in its wonderful entirety, how blessed we all are to weave our stories, backgrounds, and Jewish hopes together, proving that the spirit of the erev rav that left with the Israelites and Egyptians and proselytes is still with us today. As Passover draws to a close, I invite you to put your tummy problems aside and think about, as I now am, the wonderful mixture that is this community. Hold it close to your hearts through this holiday and beyond. Shabbat Shalom.